I think we're ready to go. Thank you so much for joining us this morning to have this very, very important discussion. Looking at really cross-border trade in the context of the SADC agenda, I think from yesterday, we've been talking about the Regional Development Program and what it's seeking to achieve, but then we have to look at what economic activities are important for the region as we drive towards reducing poverty, inequalities, and we are living in a very new environment, moving from first wave of COVID to second wave and the third wave of COVID. And how has this impacted the citizens? And we thought it was very important that we have a discussion in the context of the SADC agenda and what would be the response of SADC to help cross-border traders. Cross-border trade is an important economic activity. And over the last year, we have really seen, what has been the impact, on the livelihoods of citizens. The session is really focusing on two aspects. What is going to be done differently to effectively implement, firstly, with the SADC Simplified Trade Regime in the context of supporting small-scale traders. But we wanted to look at the bigger picture, first of all, is to look at what is the state of cross-border trade within the region, and what are the challenges that the traders have been facing, what barriers are there, and what can we do and what needs to be done in addressing these issues. So to discuss these important issues, I'm really glad that everyone has joined. It's going to be a very interactive session. So we have some main speakers, but this is really going to be open for everyone to engage in as we open up for discussions and really to get your views and your recommendations. Please feel free to use the chat service to share some of the recommendations, to share some of your questions, but we'll be able to allow participants for this session to actually speak and engage on the issues. So we were supposed to have two speakers joining me, but one of them just had a bereavement this morning and was not able to join us. But to kick off our discussions, I'll be joined by Jacob Makambwe, who is the representative from the Southern Africa Cross-Border Traders Association. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you very much, Christabel, and welcome everyone to this session.
Thank you. We also have representation from the other Cross-Border Traders Association who should be joining on the panel. I was just checking on the participants, but I think they are still to join in. And we'll also have Patricia Chisi from Malawi, who's supposed to also be joining and sharing their perspectives from Malawi. And once she joins us, we'll give her an opportunity to actually share. But to get us going, Jacob, I would just like to get, your perspective, and also to just share the experiences of cross-border traders from Zambia. What really has been the impact of COVID-19, on cross-border traders? We know the cross-border traders have already been facing challenges and facing a number of trade barriers even before COVID. But can you just share with us, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on cross-border traders? Yeah, Jacob, you can go. You're on mute.
Okay, sorry, the host was not allowing me to unmute myself, but now I'm able to unmute. Thank you very much, Christabel, for giving us this particular platform to share some experiences of cross-border trade, especially what is happening around Zambia. I'll tell you that COVID-19 has really disseminated a lot of pressure on cross-border traders. Believe me, words now are not enough to talk about the impact coming from the loss of capital, and also probably even, changing the focus of how they would want to conduct their businesses. And now, as we are getting to the third wave, we've had challenges in terms of how do we make sure that cross-border traders can be one of those that can probably be given an opportunity, to get the vaccines. And I think these are some of the discussions that are going around to now the supply of the vaccines. But I'll tell you, when you talk about economically, COVID-19 has really impacted, especially on the small-scale traders, whose business has been shut, and most of those that were trading, especially with South Africa, Botswana, especially South Africa. So you see that cross-border traders, they were supposed now to start looking at alternatives. And part of the issues to provide alternatives was to look inside what sorts of products are they going to continue trading on. But again, looking at the capital, the dwindling financial capacities of these small-scale traders, you find that most of them have given up and they're just staying at home and waiting for the better opportunity, probably looking at if the third wave could be the last one. And that is the hope that everyone is actually having. So this halting of cross-border trade due to COVID-19 has also brought in the challenge of access to probably testing, and probably getting the COVID certificates, especially for those that would want to travel, to continue to do business in a different format, because countries would have only allowed, citizens that have got a COVID certificate. And then we have actually seen a few of those that are transporters and that are actually getting goods on behalf of small-scale traders, those that can manage, that have started, getting goods in bulk by coming together. We see that the process of getting these certificates is becoming expensive. And now you find that testing in the Zambian kwacha, for you to get a certificate, you have to pay something like 1,500 kwacha, maybe US dollar, you're able to convert it. Yeah, so these are some of the challenges as well, but also, that the issues to do with COVID and maybe the prices that have been connected to the acquisition of certificates have put cross-border traders at risk, because some of them are using underhand methods to try and get dubiously these certificates and travel, therefore risking their lives, in the name of just trying to survive. Yeah, so it's quite a very difficult situation, and I think the country now has gone to a lockdown, a semi-lockdown, where all premises now, businesses like those that are operating in liquor, bars, have actually been closed for 14 days. And whilst the markets are still open, it's really a challenge, because now at the moment, as an organization, we are actually involved, to disseminate information to heighten compliance in terms of, masking up, sanitizing, and putting up washing points in cross-border markets. But now you know that these markets are quite huge, and sometimes it's very difficult to have everyone complying. But with the third wave now, we are seeing that people are more cautious. We've been actually in the field. Some of our officers that are doing sensitization, we're working with Sake of Hope to try and heighten the compliance levels, in different cross-border markets, where now we are seeing people, because they are connecting their relatives now that are dying. Previously, COVID-19 was like a myth, because none of our relatives or the relatives of the people that we talked to was affected. But now we see more of our close relatives, and us as an organization, we've lost 2 of our colleagues, a financial guy, a finance manager, and also an accountant in our organization. succumbed to COVID-19. So this is actually becoming more something that we are able now to understand that is impacting on our lives. So I think that is a state of our situation on COVID in Zambia. So as an organization, we are trying to heighten this, to take out information, on the impact of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I think you've raised some very key issues that, I would like us to really go back to. I would also like to share that the Southern Africa Trust had commissioned 4 country case studies on the impact of COVID on cross-border trade and women cross-border trade. We'll be able to share the Southern Africa Trust Knowledge Hub and some of the research that we have done to really look at, how COVID-19 has affected cross-border traders. And I would like to really go back on a couple of issues, which was coming out of some of that research, and really you giving me the perspectives from Zambia. And we'll also allow Stephen Yohane, who's just joined from Malawi, to also share some of the experiences from Malawi in relation to the impacts of COVID-19. So the first thing is, can you share with us your experience in terms of cross-border traders and their response to the vaccine? Are they willing to take the vaccine, and how much information have they been getting around the vaccine and being open to actually going to take the vaccine? The other aspect is around the COVID-19 testing and the COVID certificates and the cost related to that. And I think in the research that the Southern Africa Trust has done, this is one of the key issues that was coming out of the countries in terms of the costs around doing the testing and the certificates. In the Zambian context, have cross-border traders been given some form of subsidy, or there's no subsidy, or have you engaged governments to say whether there could be subsidies in relation to the COVID-19 testing? The other aspect is really the third aspect, which I wanted you to touch, then we can come to the other things, is really the access to social insurance. Most of the traders are facing challenges. I think from our country studies, we're able to see that a number of women cross-border traders were not able to recapitalize their businesses. And we've been going through different waves and everything. So how are they coping with that? Are they diversifying into different things? What does this mean for them, and what kind of support needs to be put in place? So let's look at those 3 aspects.
Okay, so talking about the issues of traders probably willing now to get tested, and I believe now that the third wave has really provided the message for so many of us that we need to take the COVID vaccination. And I think this going forward, as we have seen in other European countries, will be a prerequisite for travel, to do business and either do other issues. So as we are getting to do the information packages in terms of how cross-border traders would maybe have access, to vaccines. What the government has actually done is to provide these vaccines in different health facilities, and these health facilities have been given a quite limited number of, jabs that are needed to be accessed by, people. So probably like in certain areas where they give a limited number of jabs to be given to a number of people, and that has provided now a lot of congestion in terms of trying to line up and to get that. In terms of concession, where the government would want to focus mainly to say, okay, probably cross-border traders would be given a priority. Of course, at the moment, everything that is being done is all like emergency, and there's apart from the frontliners, I do not see government prioritizing probably cross-border trade in terms of being given a priority to be vaccinated. But for those that have been traveling in and out, and those that are willing to actually get vaccinated, we have actually had a number of our colleagues, are getting this particular vaccine. But now we started with the first jab. Now the government is rolling out the second jab. And I think in the past 3-4 days, there's been a little bit of a shortage, of these particular, vaccines. So, but what we are trying to also do as an association is to work closely with the Ministry of Health. We are working under a consortium of different associations that are dealing with different sectors of the informal economy in Zambia, looking at how we can collectively have a collective intervention on how cross-border traders and other traders, those that are also trading on the street, like street vendors, can have access to the right information, and also how government can provide mini centers where these traders can have access, to the vaccines themselves. So what we are still looking at is the amount of vaccines that are being procured by the government. If we can actually provide the information to the ministry, of which we have actually had several meetings, that they should prioritize the sector, because there are people that are traveling most of the times, and they are found in the places where they are super spreaders of COVID-19. So we'll actually be having later in the day a meeting with the ministry to see the way forward, because they've requested us to submit a budget and see how we can actually provide the information to the intended traders. The other part, when you talk about the costs, yes, the government has not really given us a law or subsidized the costs. We are still trying to talk to the government, probably in getting the COVID certificate. The problem is that we have only limited centers that have been allowed by government where people can go to test and get the certificates, which is the biggest hospital in Zambia, the University Teaching Hospital, maybe Levi Mwanawasa, and there are these few institutions where people should go and get the certificate. So this has not decentralized to probably mini hospitals and other clinics where people can go tested and get the certificate. And this is why probably it is so costly, for government to roll out this. So the cost still remains at that particular, high price that small scale traders, especially women, cannot afford to get into that. You also talked about some of the issues. Probably Southern Africa Cross-Border Traders Association participated in a survey on COVID, on the impact of COVID on cross-border trade. And some of the issues that came out were issues to do with recapitalization of the businesses, due to the impact of COVID-19. But the issue also was, where do we get the resources? For example, the government had provided a stimulus package. The issue and the problem around the stimulus package was not well focused in terms of really focusing on the sectors that would have been impacted much more with the COVID-19. And again, even in the way the fund was actually introduced, it was actually introduced through the central bank, and the commercial banks were the most beneficiaries, but the processes in which SMEs or cross-border traders would have access to this fund is actually still a mystery at the moment, where some of the accessibility of this particular stimulus package is not really well focused. And that's why we kept on advocating that the government must, prioritize cross-border trade and provide a well-focused funding that would actually recapitalize their businesses. So we're still trying, to engage government. And as you are aware, that the situation now becomes a little bit precarious. We're in the COVID, and we're also in an election period. It's quite difficult to engage, the structures of government and get the results until after August 12th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I'll just invite Stephen from the Malawi Cross-Border Traders Association just to share perspectives from Malawi, what has been the impact of COVID on cross-border traders and the experiences, particularly of women cross-border traders. Stephen? Hi, Stephen, you're on mute.
Hi,
Stephen.
Hi, how are you, Christabel?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, so I just wanted you to just share from the Malawi experience, you know, what has been the impact of COVID on cross-border traders in Malawi? I think you were hearing from the discussion that we had with Jacob on some of the issues that cross-border traders have faced in terms of the cost of COVID-19, the issues that they don't have financing or support from government to restart their businesses, and also on issues relating to vaccines in relation to, you know, the issues in relation to vaccines and also relation to personal protection equipment. I just wanted you to share from Malawi what has been the experience of cross-border traders.
Christabel, thank you so much, and Jacob and the whole team for the sharing of information. And then it's not only different from what Jacob is already alluded to on related to COVID-19, especially the cross-border traders as we are experiencing the COVID-19. My position to begin with, currently we don't have any specific way whereby the traders then have an excess of finance related to COVID-19 issues. So we have seen different developments that have been targeted to be supported for towards the COVID-19 issues. So as cross-border traders, Malawi, they are facing a lot of challenges. One of them is the issue of access to finance. You know, even the government institution, they have been introducing the fund which will support the Malawians, but it's not necessarily targeting the women in cross-border trade. That's the first thing. And then the other thing related to the same COVID-19 is personal protective equipment. Like previously, you supported the SADC, supported the Cross-Border Traders Association of Malawi, produce that mask, but it's like a single support. So we need at least continuous support in terms of visibility of the personal equipment COVID-19 PPEs. So Malawi, we have hit very much on the COVID-19. So these are we don't have a specific support for cross-border traders towards the COVID-19. That is it. We'll come to the issue of vaccine. Vaccine, it has been at the first place. The vaccine was like an issue because some of the people here in Malawi have got the different perception towards the vaccine. People were saying on this vaccine, will cause us some different diseases, so forth and so. But now people are eager to receive the vaccine. But unfortunately, we don't have much stock of vaccine here in Malawi. So specifically, we need at least intervention that can support the cross-border traders, especially subsidize the cross-border traders, whereby they can get the vaccine for sure. This is current situation what we have now. People, they're eager to receive the vaccine, but the issue at the ground is subsidized. We need at least the cross-border traders have an access of support or finance to subsidize the women in cross-border or the indigenous or the cross-border traders to get the vaccine, because this is the only way whereby you can be surviving from the COVID to be vaccinated. So far, this is the current status for Malawi. And then in terms of COVID-19 certificates, still more is a challenge, because to get the certificate is to take the number of days to get the certificate, and even the certificate itself is very expensive for small scale cross-border traders to get it, because it will cost almost $50. So, you know, the traders have very little capital in terms of the surviving on the business, on their business. So it's hard for them to survive as it is. So to get the COVID-19 certificate is a challenge. So it's not easy for as of now. So government have introduced the electronic certificate of COVID-19, but still more we have a challenge. So in terms of women in cross-border trade or in cross-border trade journal, one, they don't have access on the certificate of the COVID-19. It's expensive, it's $50 cost. And then when you come up with the special package or seed recovery capitals for cross-border traders to get the funds or to get the relief from the COVID, it's not targeting the cross-border traders as well. So this is what situation here in Malawi. So currently, Christabel, this is what I have so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I think you've
Yes.
really touched on all the key issues, and the experience is almost similar to that of Zambia. I would like to go back to Jacob before we begin to open up the discussion for participants to share. I would like to encourage participants to share your questions in the chat, but you also have the opportunity to interact with Jacob and Stephen. I just wanted to get a perspective now that we are really changed the trading environment. Everything is going paperless towards across the borders. You know, what has been the experience of cross-border traders going across the border from Zambia and using these new paperless systems? I would also like you to touch on, we're talking in the context of the SADC region, we're talking also in the context of the COMESA region and the simplified trade regime that was put in place, and that SADC is also trying to put in place, that was supposed to cater for cross-border traders. And they were trying to come up with simplified procedures, which they did under the COMESA STR, where they are using limited documents. But with the COVID-19, everything is moving paperless. So how are cross-border traders trying to migrate through that process? And what do you think needs to be done?
Okay, so thank you very much, Christabel, for that question. You know that business for cross-border trade in Zambia has actually changed, you know, in various ways. And for those traders that are able to manage, they've actually embraced what we call the digital platforms now, whether they would want to make cross-border payments. There are cross-border payment systems that have been introduced, especially when it comes to the import and export of goods that the country is implementing through Zambia Revenue Authority and other government agencies at the border. So for small-scale traders now, they've actually come up with various ways of ordering goods. Probably they could actually get to suppliers either in South Africa or in wherever they would want to get their goods. But what they're actually doing is to have a prior arrangement with the supplier, and probably maybe they would have maybe 1 or 2 people that would get to that particular country, because they'll be able to probably sponsor a person that they would clear a certificate for COVID. They would do all these particular tests. But the goods are always going to be laden on a truck for various traders. Probably maybe 10 traders would want to use maybe 1 transport. Maybe 5 traders would want to use maybe 2 or 3 transports. So meaning that the window for trade facilitation that was provided for small-scale traders is not available at the moment, meaning that they cannot use the COMESA Simplified Trade Customs document for them to clear as the Simplified Trade Regime required them to do, because the consignments now are becoming more bigger because they are getting goods in bulk. So meaning that now it has changed. What the customs officials or the revenue authorities are requesting them is to provide the certificate of origin of goods where they actually, get them. If they are wholly produced in COMESA, so meaning that at the moment, small-scale traders that are working in groups are no longer trading using that simplified window for exporting or importing goods. So that is one of the challenges that has actually come as a result of the new way of doing business. The other way that we have actually also looked at is to try and provide capacities to small-scale traders. What platforms are there for them to access, whether they would want to buy goods either from whatever part of the world they would want. One of the challenges is that so many of our people do not really trust these online platforms. And because twice or maybe thrice they've been duped, their money has actually gone, they've not received the goods. Probably sometimes goods have been received, but not in the shape they would actually want, in terms of quality and other things. So they're becoming a bit skeptical in terms of trying to trust the online platforms where people are advertising. But what we're also doing is to try and link to the National Trade Portal, which is implemented by government through the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, which can provide credible information on the sources where most of our traders can get the goods and services. And again, also a limited range of payment systems that are happening now, whether mobile payment systems, whether the e-wallet systems, the capacities in which traders would actually maybe be using them. You know that a number of small-scale traders are quite limited in terms of having bank accounts. They would rather keep their money in small wallets or probably, in the mobile bank accounts. But the other transaction needs that they need to have a bank account, and this has also presented a challenge, for them to do that. So when you talk about coping now, and I think all what we need to do is to try and look at how does the region respond, to such type of challenges that cross-border traders. And I know that it's not only peculiar to Zambia that traders are facing these, challenges. As you are aware that most of the countries would have produced much more in the agricultural sector, and they are still looking for market outside where they'll be able to get, the match market that they actually need. So we need to look at how SADC can still come back on the table and look at how they can provide the simplification of trade within SADC. And I think where we were at that particular moment were the issues to do with thresholds and the experiences that we had in the implementation of the STR within COMESA, which had very limited, room for progress, especially, for small-scale traders that will continually be using, the window. There was no way of actually trying to see if these people have been trading for this particular period of time with the smaller capitals and the like. So what would be the interventions to try and help traders to move from being that particular level and to go to the other levels? So the issues of thresholds also became a challenge. And now you see that the exchange rates in SADC has actually gone high, and I think probably most African countries. So when you talk about a threshold of $2,000 as compared to how much that translates into Zambian kwacha, now that becomes a challenge as well. So the threshold can look good in the US dollar, but in the Zambia terms, you find that people do not afford probably goods up to $2,000. Probably it gives a leverage for maybe to have these particular goods that can actually be imported into the country or exported into another country. Again, maybe the other issue is the implementation of trade policies that focus on supporting small-scale traders. For example, we're talking about financial support to women traders. What are the regional strategies in terms of trying to cushion financial services that can cater across the countries, whether a trader is in Botswana, in South Africa, or in Zambia? What sorts of services can actually be provided within the region? Now we have actually seen the emergence of trading services. And trading services is actually now becoming the major earner of the most economies. And the research that was actually done recently, if you see the chart, trading services is actually the top of things. So in trading services, it actually includes the issues of insurance. Social insurance and other issues are the prerequisite to make sure that small-scale traders can also be cushioned in times of problems like we are going through. The issues of social protection are only provided in the funds meant for the vulnerable, the aged, but it does not cover small-scale traders, especially women. That would have been in this particular business for some time, and focusing on that. So there could be now something that we can also try and look at it from the perspective of the implementation of the RISDP itself. The regional indicative strategy development plans provide strategies on how national governments can actually now start implementing some of the things that they've actually proposed at a regional level. But when it comes to the national level, it's also the participation of the relevant stakeholders. This is where we always now want to say the SADC National Committee must incorporate the organizations such as the Southern Africa Cross-Border Traders Associations and other private sector trade unions to make sure that the amplification of voices at national level can actually, have an input into what the government would want to submit at a regional level. Meaning that the processes of engagement must be more formal, and they should not be processes of ad hoc meeting at when there's a crisis. That's when you realize there's an association that deals with cross-border trade. So how do we reach out to cross-border trade? So these particular structures must be formalized. And even when you're talking about the implementation of the STR, how do we get back to the table to push SADC to put that particular STR on the agenda? It must be demand driven. So meaning that at national levels as associations, we must start now trying to demand that the simplified trade regime within SADC must be a priority, and it should be implemented. As much as we are talking about there will be less movement of people, but goods are still going to continue moving. There should be a window that small-scale traders must have in order for them to use electronics platforms to get access to the simplified trade, where they will import some of the goods or where they want to export. This documentation must be done at a platform where cross-border traders can have access and get to clear their goods. Of course, you know that several people must be thinking, if we now start to advocate for the implementation of STR, then we are talking about now the opening up of borders. Of course, borders are going to open, probably less for the movement of persons, but more for the movement of goods and services within the SADC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jacob. I'd just like to open up to our participants for any questions. or comments you'd like to make? You can just raise your hand or just send, and we will unmute you. And if you're not able to unmute. And we have interpretation, just to inform everyone, for Portuguese and French as well. Any questions before I mention names of people that are participating? Janet, John, any questions from your side? Kondwani?
Thank you, Christabel. I honestly don't have a question. I think it has been very clear, and I think it is the cross-border is one of those sectors that have really been affected by the COVID-19. I think I heard quite a lot in terms of the promotion of, the sanitizer, the guidelines, the sanitization, the wearing of masks, and the like. But we have in Zimbabwe, most of the informal trader organizations, they are now also part of the People's Vaccine Campaign, where they are kind of trying to encourage those in the informal trade to be able to get vaccination, so that they can participate in the economy and not be affected by the lockdowns. But I honestly remain very confused in terms of the economic models by our government, especially with the lockdowns. Right now as well, just giving an example of Zimbabwe, they've just locked down on level 4, which is kind of a very hard lockdown. But commercial activities will continue across the borders. But this doesn't include the cross borders. So I think we still have a lot of work to do in terms of our advocacy work and our influencing work, so that this work is recognized as work and contributing to our economies, and how to integrate that in the new economy that has been ushered in by COVID-19, for me remains one of those key issues that I'm grappling with, to really understand and say, so what are the alternatives? Where are we going to be placing our work, and how are we going to engage as well in this RISDP as well, I think, process. I know the vast opportunities of the Africa, continental Africa free trade area, the COMESA and all the regional blocks, but for me, I don't know if they really meant for us. I find many barriers there, and we have to comb those out. I think we had this conversation yesterday. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Janet. I love to hear your voice. So, so yeah, so thank you so much. I think you've obviously raised some critical issues, which obviously, even in the trade context, there's need to look at that, and look at addressing those barriers. And obviously most of these barriers have been enhanced with the COVID-19, but it's really looking, there are issues to do with language, even the documents that are provided at the border posts, issues to do with translating those documents so that it's easier for people to make use, but also using different platforms. What if people can't read in the local languages? How do you make it easier for them? But they should be able to still do trade. Any other comments from anyone? Kondwani, I've just unmuted you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm Kondwani from Malawi. I just wanted I have two questions, but maybe more clarifications. Jacob mentioned when I was talking about the simplified trade regime in Zambia, about most of the people not warming up to or not trusting online platforms. So I wanted to know if there have been any sensitization campaigns that have been done to at least help people be more informed about the online platforms, so which can assist them to use them more. So that's the first question. The second one, I just wanted to know, Jacob talked about there being limited or maybe dwindling doses for the jabs. So I wanted to know what are the measures that Zambia is making in order to address that. I don't know, maybe if you talked about it already, I'm not sure. You may forgive me for that, but yes, those are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kondwani. Any other questions so that we can take a couple? Any other questions? Yes, John?
Hi, so I think it's more of not a question per se, but probably a comment. I think as my name is John Kabaghe from Malawi, from Foreign Affairs. I think as Malawi, we have had the fortune of having a few projects which are targeting cross-border traders. And so one of them is being facilitated by IOM, International Organization for Migration. And it's focusing on cross-border traders who are doing trade between Malawi and Zambia at the Chipata-Mchinji border. And I think they have looked at some issues like the impact of COVID-19, and some of the findings are quite interesting. Apart from the logistical issues, for instance, the requirement that now cross-border traders must be getting these COVID-19 certificates, then there has just been a spike of the cost of transportation. So like the transport cost has just doubled just like that, because transporters are kind of like trying to say we are still wanting to make the same amount of money from fewer traders. So because most of the people have actually lost their capital. So it's like you have the same, you still want to make the same amount of money, but out of a smaller group of people. So I think it has really affected the cross-border traders very badly, especially women cross-border traders. And at this point, I wouldn't say that government is coming up with. I think government, there are conversations around how to support cross-border trading, but I think it's something that is a work in progress. I think too many competing priorities are, as you know, that governments must think about, must deal with COVID-19. Now, the question of vaccines and all that. So it's something that I think governments are seized of, but I think usually the issue would be the resource envelope. And but I think we are really trying to do something in that regard. And apart from the project that we have, which is targeting changing Chipata, I think there's another project which is being facilitated by a certain international organization. I can't really remember the name, but they are basically just trying to provide the PPEs to cross-border traders, and these are being done both in I think in 4 border posts where they are providing PPEs to cross-border traders free of charge for the time being. So I thought I should just mention that indeed there might be a little bit of help for our cross-border traders, although maybe it is not enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. I'll go to Thabo and then Evanio after Thabo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Thabo Kesi from Lesotho. Yes, I'm a member of a National Trade Facilitation Committee here in Lesotho as per WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement. As we know that Article 23.2 advocates the formation of a National Trade Facilitation Committee consists of both public and private representatives. So I was, when I was listening to the previous speakers, when they were relating their situation, in their countries, I was trying to listen if there will be a mention of a National Trade Facilitation Committee as a platform where they will be able to raise the concerns which affects the cross-border trade, so, but I couldn't hear that, so I just want to establish if ever the speakers were not part of a National Trade Facilitation Committee into their respective countries. Yes, that was my question. The last one, I just want to know who is the representative of SADC Cross-Border Association chapter in Lesotho, because I haven't heard of anyone in Lesotho, really. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thabo. We'll take on the last one, Evanio.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Evanio Mazenga from Mozambique. I just want to resume everything you asked. I'm not, I don't belong any organization from transporters, but I'm working for PSA in Mozambique. So I'd like to give you a small resume of our country. In terms of cross borders, our cross borders, you normally go to South Africa to buy goods, and it's necessary to go there. It's necessary to make a test, to do the testing, the COVID tests. So in terms of costs of tests, they are around $50 to $100 a person. So they have to do the test before 2 days, within 2 days to go to South Africa. And we had some problems a long time ago that we Mozambicans, when we went with our test to the border, so the South Africa border, didn't accept the tests, but now they accept, and even from South Africans, they don't need to make a test when they come here. If they just need to prove that they made it in South Africa and they came in. So in terms of government providing vaccines and all things, I think government now has just provided vaccines for all the people, diabetics and people with chronic diseases. So now private sectors and government have a plan, and I think they bought some vaccines that they are going to arrive here at the end of July. So these vaccines are for the people who work in big companies like Vodacom and Mozal. These companies that are big and they have their own money to buy these vaccines for their workers. That's all I wanted to say in terms of our country. Just a small resume. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evanio, and also just for sharing the Mozambican experience. There's also a cross-border traders platform, Wekero, which we've also interacted with. That's also part of the Southern Africa Cross-Border Traders Association. So it'd be great if you could also link up and establish some partnerships, and also working with you in Mozambique. It would be great to link up even following this discussion. So I'll hand over to Jacob, and also Stephen can also come in to just respond to some of the questions. So I think the first question, Jacob, was around capacity building in relation to the use of online platforms for cross-border traders. The second aspect is in light of the limited vaccines in Zambia, what is the response by government in trying to address that shortfall? We also got perspectives from Malawi in terms of some of the interventions that government and other international organizations are doing to support cross-border traders, but also acknowledging the fact that there is, high transportation costs that cross-border traders are facing, and also the efforts around vaccines access that is being done. From Lesotho, there was a question in terms of, for both you and Stephen, whether you are participating in the National Trade Facilitation Committee or if they actually exist in your countries, such committees where you can raise some of your challenges. And the other question was for Lesotho, whether you have a member, the Southern Africa Cross-Border Traders Association has a member in Lesotho. I think the last part was really experiences from Mozambique with regards to cross-border trade, and which I think really is quite similar to the experiences in your countries, and whether you would like to comment on that regard. So over to you, Jacob, first, then we can come to Stephen.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to start with the issues to do with capacity building. The issue to do with capacity building is that as an organization, we've conducted, I think, 2 training sessions that we've partnered with, our other partners within the country, to provide the capacity, to cross-border traders and general other traders on the availability of, digital financial platforms. And this provided an opportunity for traders to come out. And I think some of the things that I brought out to say that there's a mistrust, in these online platforms. It was as a result of the capacity that we carried out when we had convened a meeting for cross-border traders that were involved in importing and export of fruit and vegetables, and traders that were trading within the corridor between Zambia and DRC, as well as the, South Africa, those that were importing fruits and vegetables from South Africa. So there is an intent to continue this capacity and sensitization of the platforms that can be trusted by cross-border traders. But again, at national level, we have, through the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, a national trade portal that we need, to work with the ministry to make sure that it's a functional portal. It can be accessed by all sectors of traders in the country, and it should actually have relevant information that traders need to get in terms of using it as the main trade portal to get the trusted, contacts for them to conduct business. The issues of limited doses depends on how much the government would put in to procure, and the issues of procurement and budgets is a priority. Yes, it's an emergency, but the government has assured us by the end of July, we'll be receiving the other doses that are going to come into the country, but we don't know how much of the doses that are going to come for the vaccines. That we hope we are actually going to be given a priority to make sure that cross-border traders can be given a priority to do the vaccines, when they come. Yeah, the issue of belonging to the National Trade Facilitation Committee. As an organization, we are a member of the National Trade Facilitation Committee in Zambia, and we are working directly with the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry to try and see how some of these particular challenges that we mentioned can be addressed. But you know that government is one. And when we talk about government is one, is that the committees that are created specifically have got focus to address certain areas of trade. For example, as an organization, we are also sitting on the National Monitoring Committee on non-tariff barriers. And SACBITA is actually one of the national focal points on the reporting of non-tariff barriers. And we are actually hosting a SMS gadget for the country, for the traders to report non-tariff barriers. And we believe that these particular platforms have provided an opportunity for us to give government to develop strategies to respond to some of the challenges that we continue mentioning on various platforms. And we are seeing that this particular partnership and also the government allowing us to participate, it has provided the government with the relevant information for intervention so that in the national development policies, issues to do with cross-border trade are prioritized. And that's why we are more than happy that we are participating in these particular platforms. To talk about our representation in Lesotho, yes, Southern Africa Cross-Border Traders Association, we have a representative in Lesotho by the name of Sivu Cross-Border Traders Association of Lesotho that are based in Maseru. And the head of the association is Ms. Sebaba So Evelina Masianyane. I can share the contacts later in the chat box if the gentleman that would want to get contact with them and their email, I can put them in the chat so that you can actually have contact, with them. So all in all, when it comes to the issues of providing spaces and also providing, opportunities for small-scale traders, I would want just to mention on part of our country, Zambia, is that our government, in terms of trying to bring everyone on board, our government is very much open. But what has always been a challenge is the provision to progressively implement some of the suggestions that we provide. That is where we have a challenge at the implementation stage. So we've always tried to implore government to start looking at some of the solutions that we've provided that can improve, issues to do with trade. And for example, like within the region, the SADC national focal point in Zambia is Ministry of Foreign Affairs, of which now we are engaging very effectively and we are participating in all the processes. This is the only way now that we are going to make sure that if we go at a regional level, what is SADC going to implement in terms of trying to get what the national level are putting into the regional indicative strategy development plan? So meaning that the plans should actually start from the bottom to the top. So meaning that there should be participation of the citizens to provide for the processes to implement, suggestions that are being given. For example, we are just talking about the SADC region. We are still talking about some of the infrastructure that has been provided to enhance regional integration. And yet this particular infrastructure comes with a lot of cost. A gentleman from Malawi, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, talks about the cost of transportation that has doubled. And then coupled with the road toll fees and the bridge charges when people are crossing, especially the new installed Kazungula Bridge. This, even if the borders were to open today, it was going to present so much of the big challenge because the toll fees are so high and not good for regional integration. So that's why we still keep on to implore SADC to actually look at this regional integration infrastructure must respond to the needs, of enhancing regional trade and facilitate even the smallest cross-border trader who would want to use the facility. Because this is the only way we are actually going to improve our economies, we are going to improve our livelihoods, we are also going to improve the supply of goods and services within the region. So without impeding or using infrastructure or toll fees or any other exorbitant pricing that is actually attached to infrastructure as a barrier, that will actually going to inhibit trade amongst ourselves. We were saying we need to trade much more with each other than to trade with the outside, because most of the raw materials, most of the commodities are produced here in Africa. And the outside world must also be scrambling or to come and buy goods from us as Africans. We must actually stop taking out raw materials and get finished products into our countries. And I think this is what has actually brought so much of non-stop cross-border trade, getting products from outside, maybe China or other countries, into Africa, other than producing our own, so that we provide goods and services that traders can buy from our local manufacturers to supply the markets.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I'll bring in Stephen, and I'll also look at the chat with some of the comments. Yes, Stephen?
Yes, thank you so much, Christabel and the team. Just take the question from the one of Lesotho. Lesotho was asking about how the National Trade, Cross-Border Traders involved on the Trade Facilitation Committee. Cross-Border Traders Association of Malawi is one of the members of National Trade Facilitation Committee, and we've been participating in the e-learning sessions, training that organized by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Recently, I'm also one of the beneficiaries of the training so far. So, Malawi Cross-Border Traders Association is one of the members of National Trade Facilitation. That government, we are 100% recognized by the government. We are talking about the Minister of Trade, we are talking about Minister of Gender, we are talking about Minister of Finance, we are talking about Department of Immigration, MRA. So we do interact with the ministers of these departments, and then even the Commissioner General of the MRA to talk about some of the different issues that affecting the small-scale cross-border traders. One of the positive response from the government is increase of thresholds of SDR. That is now starting from 1st July. The government of Malawi has been increased from 2,000 US dollars to 3,000 US dollars. That is small-scale cross-border traders will benefit from the SDR, and even the government has also reduced some of the taxes that applies to other goods that most cross-border traders are imported from outside. And on the issue of non-tariff barriers, I know the Malawi has a team or committee that complies on the how we can report on trade barriers, non-tariff trade barriers. And the Cross-Border Traders Association has been asked to submit the name of the focal person. So this is a welcome ideas from the government. So let me also comment on what the John has talked about on some of the projects that some of other partners that we are implementing with. One of them is already mentioned, the IOM. We are currently doing the project on COVID-19. That is the only targeting the one border, that is the Chinjimwan border. So the project, I know the project is implementing in 4 countries, namely Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. So IOM, International Organization of Migration, we are doing this project together. Yeah, the cross-border is on the steering committee of this project. And that project also has bring the positive change on in terms of the business management. So IOM has hired the bank institution to train the small-scale cross-border traders in terms of business management, how they can access the funds, how they can, interact with the different partners in trade. So that is that. And one of them, the project is Southern Africa Trust has been, supporting the Cross-Border Traders Association of Malawi. But we also mentioned about the production of PPEs. We have also produced the booklet that women in cross-border trade. That is different information related to gazetted COVID-19 SADC COMESA level, and then also there's information of non-tariff barriers We have there's also information on the STR threat codes, the common list of codes. So there's also the rights of the trader when they do the trade, only they reach at the border, what the trader can do, or what can the trader, have when they reach at the border amidst the COVID-19. So we have different partners that we're implementing different projects with the government institution. So the government currently, they are, hearing our voices, what we are demanding, but there's other areas that we also need the government to help the cross-border traders, especially women and youth, because we have that gap. And also on the African Intercontinental Free Trade Area, we have other partners like UN Women. UN Women, just yesterday, we had a meeting with UN Women targeting the women on these free trade area agreements that the government of Malawi has been ratified. So there's several partners that we are implementing with the different programs. But what is remaining is the issue related to this COVID-19. That is a very big challenge to us because it's for us. So we need to have a way and other means that we can make trade to grow or not to stop trading, because most of the traders, they are relying on the importing and exporting of goods. So we are also sustaining the traders that we need to adopt the new system of buying goods online, clearing goods online. So these are the areas that we need to understand or to share with our colleagues, the traders. And the National Cross-Border Traders Association of Malawi is also working with the COMESA. COMESA is helping us to develop the website whereby different information the traders can acquire information on the import and export permit from the Ministry of Trade and the trade policy, gender policy, all those issues. The other partners, what we are working with. So the COMESA is helping us to develop the website through support from EU. So there's several activities that are taking place currently now. And we have also the other partner is OSISA. OSISA is also supporting the other way around in terms of the women in the business. So, and like SADC Capital. So these are the areas that now the Cross-Border Traders Association of Malawi are doing. So we are in different platforms. Cross-Border Traders has been creating the WhatsApp group, Facebook, whereby the traders or the registered traders, they're in the same platform, sharing the information, getting different information from there, what we have, and the other partners they're setting. Currently, we are also doing other areas that the cross-border traders can benefit from. So we are linking with the Zambia Cross-Border Traders Association. We are in the partners with the Cross-Border Traders Association, with our traders facing the challenge in Zambia. We do link to the chairperson for Cross-Border Traders Association of Zambia if they are facing the problems and challenges. We are also offering the IDs to registered members. If once the member faces the challenge in Zambia, we used to talk with the Zambia Secretariat of the Cross-Border Traders, and that our member is facing such a challenge. Can you help? So they will do help. Even in Zimbabwe, we do link in Zimbabwe, in Lesotho. There's other chapters that we just created, like what the Jacob already alluded to. So these are the areas that Cross-Border Traders Association of Malawi, they are doing, implementing with the different partners and the government as well. So, Christabel, this is what I can share with this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're just having a background, but at least we're able to get all the information. But thank you so much for sharing, Stephen. We only have 4 minutes before the end of this session. I would like to acknowledge the questions that came in, and obviously we can take this forward in our different conversations and platforms. There was a comment from Janet in terms of that we have seriously colonial borders, never meant for people's trade regime. We really need to push, especially by amplifying the challenges faced by cross-border traders, you know, and looking at issues to do with harmful tax incentives, and obviously the given that there's limited foreign direct investment and how we can support cross-border traders. There was also a comment from Lefika, where he's saying, how plausible is it that any regional policies put in place to support cross-border traders will be equally implemented across member states, especially for countries that have serious difficulties to receive the same treatment as other states who are advantaged? Can we expect any policy to function effectively if within the current status quo in SADC, we are still treated unequally? So these are things that we'll obviously pick up as we continue having this conversation. There'll still be a closing sessions where we can bring out all these issues as we adopt the communique. But I would like to just summarize some of the key issues that have come out of this conversation and recommendations that we'll also take forward into our communique in relation to really that we are recommending to SADC to really prioritize the adoption of the simplified trade regime, as it will encompass and help to address some of the cross-border trade barriers. The issue of access to finance for cross-border traders, what initiatives could be put in place to help them recapitalize their businesses or to restart some of the work the initiatives that they were undertaking, the access to vaccines for cross-border traders. We've talked about the issue of subsidizing the COVID-19 testing, you know, and making it easier for cross-border traders to be able to access a certification. We've also talked about having safe platforms for online trading, capacity building in relation to that. The aspect of financial inclusion, you know, how do we help traders be financially included, you know, access to financial products, the bank accounts, and all those aspects. I think the other aspect which really came out was really around the review of current trade frameworks that are geared or designed for cross-border traders that are currently being implemented, like the COMESA Simplified Trade Regime. You know, how do we look at reviewing that? I'll just ask maybe Jacob if you have a last word, and if there's any last word from Stephen, and then we can close this session.
Okay, thank you very much, Christabel, you know, for this particular platform. I would just want to mention to say that, you know, going forward, these platforms must continually be maintained to make sure that there is, you know, interaction, you know, between the different stakeholders within the region. And the other part, as you are aware, that in Zambia, as the Southern Africa Cross-Border Traders Association, working with other partners and also working with Southern Africa Trust, we've actually developed a non-state actors engagement strategy. And this particular strategy is actually going to help us, you know, to find means and ways on how we are going to continue to engage with government, meaning that we are going to have more access, you know, to the regional platforms using this particular engagement strategy. Otherwise, we are saying most of the non-state actors now are receiving this particular strategy as the only way of engaging regional bodies. And we are in this particular process, other organizations are taking it as a stepping block or a stepping stone to even start now creating more engagement strategy in the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and the participation of cross-border trade in the larger integration of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jacob. A last word from you, Stephen, then we'll close the session. Any last word from you, Stephen?
Christopher, I think he's having network problems.
Okay, okay. So thank you so much to everybody for being part of this discussion. We'll continue to engage on these key issues from our various organizations, and we look forward to partnering again in having these conversations, and we look forward to all you being part of the last session and also the other discussions that are happening in the afternoon. So have a very good morning, and thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Thembi. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Christopher.